One of the biggest things I see holding people back when learning new music is their understanding of major and minor chords. There's a good chance you already know some major and minor chords already, but if I asked you a question like, what's the difference between a major and a minor chord? Or how do you build a major or minor chord anywhere in the piano? Would you be able to figure it out? If you're not able to answer some of these questions, then you're like most other people. You've been focusing up until now on learning new music, but you just haven't taken the time to understand the theory behind it. But if you don't learn this fundamental concept, it's going to make learning new songs more difficult than it needs to be. It's going to hinder your ability to learn more advanced concepts, and ultimately, it's going to prevent you from taking your playing to the next level. Hey there, my name's Steven. I'm a music teacher and sound designer, and in this video, I'm going to be taking you through what major and minor chords are and show you how to build and find them anywhere in the piano. Let's get started. So, major and minor chords are essentially just sounds that we've attached ideas and emotions to. Similar to this color cup that I've got here, it's just a color, right? In the same way that a major and minor chord is just a sound, right? We attach a lot of ideas and emotions to this. In the way that we look at this cup, for example, it's kind of bright, right? It makes us feel warm. And when you contrast this with its kind of opposite color in some ways, we think about blue, right? Much in the same way that if we play something like a major chord and then go to a minor chord, it feels like it gets a bit darker, right? You get that contrast, and that contrast in music when we use major and minor chords is really where we allow ourselves to kind of create that story in anything or allow us to bring out any kind of emotion. So I'm just gonna play you an example of Here Comes the Sun. I'm gonna play it just using major chords, which is the original version, and then I'm gonna play it in minor so you can really hear the difference. Right? So it feels bright, feels uplifting. It's like the name of the song suggests, Here Comes the Sun, right? But now I'm gonna put it in minor, and I'm gonna use minor chords. Now, I don't think I played it perfectly right, but that's okay. One just really feels a little bit darker. The minor chords, one feels a little bit brighter. When you're younger, maybe somebody's explained to you, one's like a happy chord and one's a sad chord. That's a way you could also think about it. Whatever works for you to understand it. That's the way you can think about major and minor in an abstract way. And now hopefully you have an idea on how it's used. So now that I've explained it like this, I'd like to explain it to you in a technical way so that you understand how to find and create them anywhere on the piano. So major and minor chords all consist in a fundamental way from these three notes. It's called a triad. A triad has a root, a third, and a fifth, right? So the root, if I go like this, I'm just gonna play C major, okay? The root is the note C, the letter C, right? So that actually is just kind of defining the chord in some way. So like if I'm saying F major, the root is F. Right? If I say G major, the root is G. The third and the fifth tell us what type of chord or quality that chord is. So when I say type or quality, I'm just referring to whether or not it's a major or a minor chord. And when you get onto more advanced triads, that's diminished, augmented, and suspended. The fifth plays more of a role in determining those chords. But thankfully for major and minor, the third is what actually determines the chord. And so before I get on to explaining that difference, let's just give you a measurement system so that you can figure out any of these major or minor chords across the piano. So we're gonna use the smallest intervals in music, the half step and the whole step. They're also referred to as the semitone or whole tone. I apologize in this video, I will very likely use them interchangeably, but just remember, semitone is half step and whole tone is also a whole step. So the smallest one that we have is called a semitone or a half step. And if we visualize that on the keyboard, there's only one way to see it. And it looks like this. If I start on C, it's basically every single note on the piano like this. It's like if you're playing, your pieces of wood, right? You'll see that regardless of whether or not the note is black or white, that's a semitone, right? If I go down, it always still follows this. It's basically every note. That's an easy way to think about it. I think some people will get tripped up sometimes seeing like this is a semitone and they don't recognize this maybe as a semitone, but that'll be more so when you see whole tones or whole steps. So the next interval that we have in music is called the whole step or whole tone. And there are two ways of visualizing them on the keyboard. The first way is where you see 3 white notes like this and 3 black notes like this. And see the note that I have in my ring finger here, that note is just gonna repeat over and over again. So regardless of whether or not you're going up or down, if you follow this little, we call it a scale, we call this the whole tone scale in fact, you're always gonna be going in whole steps. It takes a little bit of time for, I think, people to get used to seeing the whole steps, particularly between these little problematic areas in the keyboard where you have, you know, kind of like this 2 white note gap. That's our whole tone, right? And that's our whole tone. And now the other way to see it is like this. This is number 2, right? This is the other way to see all of your whole tones. The nice thing is, once you can see it like this is all you need to see. So 2 and 4 white notes, okay? 2 black notes and 4 white notes, okay? So when I repeat that, an octave up, doesn't matter which way you're going, right? They're always gonna be the same pattern, right? And so these are gonna be our smallest units that we're gonna use to figure out and determine whether or not our chords are major or minor. Another way you can think of whole tones or whole steps is that a whole step is 2 half steps. You can think of it like this. So for example, let's pick any note. I'm just gonna pick a challenging one so we can start to get the ball moving. Here we go. So here, right? I'm gonna go up a whole tone. 1 half step from here, right? And I'm always gonna count from 2 notes because an interval is the space between 2 notes. So 1 and 2. And that from here, from E to F sharp, that is a whole tone. Now we have that, let's move on to figuring out our major and minor chords anywhere in the piano. So starting out, I was mentioning that in a triad, we have a root, third, and a fifth. And I said that the third is the note that defines the type or quality of the chord. Major chords have what we call an interval of a major third, and a minor chord has the interval of a minor third. I'm gonna show you the minor third first. So if I go up 3 half steps, or if I go whole step and then a half step, that's gonna give me the interval of a minor third. And this is the defining note in a minor chord. If I put that somewhere else on the piano, and just as a test, you can try and figure this out, right? Doesn't really matter what this note is. I would then ask the question, okay, try and go up a minor third. So in your head, you're gonna think, okay, I've gotta go up 3 half steps or a whole step and a half step. Let's do that together. So let's just do 3 half steps just to make it easy, okay? 1, 2, 3. Now I take this off, boom. That's my minor third. Let's do one last one, and I'm gonna put it in an annoying spot just to test you, okay? Here we go. Makes you better. Okay, here we go. Here we are on the note B. I want you to try and think about it. 3 half steps or a half step and a whole step. Can you see the note? All right, here it is. 1 half step, 2 half steps, 3 half steps. Boom, that's my minor third. Or 1 whole step and 1 half step, okay? So that's our minor third. That's gonna be what tells us whether or not this chord is a minor chord. Now, the defining note when we were mentioning in our triad, the third, for our major chord, we have a major third, okay? So the best way to find it is by either going 4 half steps like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 from our root, or you can go 2 whole tones from our root, or 2 whole steps, 1 and 2. Let's do a few examples so you get comfy seeing this anywhere. And I'm gonna put this on some difficult ones. Okay, so now I'm on the note F sharp or G flat, okay? Now I want you to go up a major third. So in your head, you gotta think, okay, I gotta go up 2 whole steps or 4 half steps. Hopefully you can try this on yourself. When you're counting, go with 2 fingers, 1, 2, because we're thinking about the space between 2 notes. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 half steps, or 2 whole steps, 1, 2, boom. That's my major third from the root, okay? Let's do one more example. So let's go up a major third. So major third, think in your head, how many half steps? 4, hopefully. And how many whole steps? 2, okay? So here we go. Let's do the half steps first. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our major third from the root. I can go up in whole steps too. 1, 2, major third from the root, okay? So do that in a few different places and double check yourself. If you're really remembering anything, a major chord has a major third from the root, and that's 4 semitones or 4 half steps. A minor chord uses a minor third and has 3 half steps, or a half step and a whole step from the root. So now we've got these 2 notes, but I said that a major or minor chord consists fundamentally of 3 notes. We're missing 1, right? And so that's what we call the perfect fifth. That's the specific name that we use for this interval. And essentially, when we need to find this on the piano, I generally find that most people do better at just simply remembering it from a visual perspective of what it looks like in terms of the distance, rather than specifically finding it in the same way that we've been doing, you know, our major and minor thirds. But I'm going to show you 2 ways. I'm going to first just explain the visual way and talk about that, but then I will give you the surefire way to figure it out by using your measuring devices, your half step and a whole step. Okay, so here we go. So the essential rule that you can think about is if you're on a white note, the fifth is going to be another white note. And it's going to have this general space to it. You can kind of think 3 white notes kind of in between it. Maybe you can think like that. Or, you know, for some people, if their hand size is approximately like mine, you're like, oh, it feels like 1 and 5. Or you can also think if every single finger's got a key to it like this, then your fifth is kind of where your thumb and your pinky is, right? It's very general rules. I can appreciate this. So watch. You keep going. These are all fifths. Right? These are all the fifths that you're going to encounter. And you feel like I skipped some. I did. I skipped this one, this one, this one, and this one. So let's get onto those ones. Now, when we go to the black ones, this is the other group. You can think of it like this. Any fifths that you see, if it's a black note, it's going to have another black note as its fifth. And again, when you're saying, okay, well, which one does my finger go when you're saying it, every single finger has a key, at this point doesn't really matter so much. It's more so just getting used to the shape. I said, it's a visual thing. You get used to seeing it. Right, like that. Don't play it like this, it's just for demonstration. Okay, there you go. Those are all our fifths using a black note and a black note, okay? Now, you can think of those 2 rules. If it's a white note, it's another white note. If it's a black note, it's another black note, right? In this general space. The exception to that is if you're on B flat or you're on B, okay? So if you're on B flat, then the fifth looks like this. Right, you've got a black note and a white note. And then if you're on the note B, you've got a white note and a black note. But that's it, right? Those are the 4 ones we talked about. It's a 1 white note, right? 1 white note and another white note, or a black note and a black note. And then the exception to that is this, and that covers all of them. And so you're probably like, yeah, that's still not very precise for me, or maybe you're saying that's good enough for me. When you get into practice and you're practicing it, you will likely make mistakes. And so here is a surefire way to figure it out. So essentially, you can think of this as 3 whole steps and a half step. That's the best way I can explain it to you. You can think 7 half steps, but at that point, you're kind of counting a lot. But 3 whole steps and a half step is probably the faster way to get to it. So let's do the example for C, right? If I want to go up a perfect fifth of the note C, or my root, 1 whole step, 2 whole steps, 3 whole steps, and now I do my half step. Boom, from C to G, that is what we call a perfect fifth. Let's do another one. This is the black note, right? Black note, so the general rule is saying, okay, I'm on a black note and I'm not on B flat or B, so the next one must be a black note as well, and you can kind of try to get used to this general space. I can appreciate that some people might be confused. You might think it's that. So here's the way to double check it. 1, 2, 3 whole steps, and then 1 half step. Boom, that's your perfect fifth, okay? Last one, perfect fifth from this note, this root. Okay, I'm gonna go up 1, 2, 3, and then a half step. That's my perfect fifth, okay? Now you have all of the tools to see a major and minor chord. So again, root, a third, and a fifth. Let's do this example on a few other ones so that we can see everything and put it together, okay? So From here, I've just played F major, right? And the way that I understand F major is that it's got a root, it's got a third and a fifth. A major chord has a major third from the root and a perfect fifth from the root, okay? So I can check that it's a major chord by thinking, okay, it's a major third has 2 whole steps from the root. 1, so I'll do it like this, 1, 2, that's a major third, right? Or you can go 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, okay? A minor chord has 3 half steps from the root, or uses a minor third interval, 1, 2, 3, okay? That's our minor third. And now both, regardless of what's a major or a minor chord, they both have a perfect fifth. Use whatever method to do it, visually, white note to white note, or 3 whole steps, 1, 2, 3, and then a half step there. Major or minor. Let's do one last one as a kind of closing example here. Let's do A flat minor. Here's my root, right? If I want to find the chord, I need to find the fundamental triad of it. A root, a minor third, and a perfect fifth from the root. Okay, so I've got my root note, G sharp or A flat. So I got to go up 3 semitones from my root, 1, 2, 3. That's my minor third from the root. And now I've got to go do a perfect fifth from the root. So that's 3 whole steps and 1 half step. So I've got this, just try to remember that note, okay? So 1, 2, 3, and then my half step. Okay, so now that's how I find my minor chord. If you've gotten to this point, honestly, you're doing great. It just shows that you have the motivation to learn this. You're gonna do well, just keep going. I can fully appreciate that this is a lot of information, particularly if you visualize it like this. So one of the things I really wanna mention at this part, is that I have a video that is gonna help you out tremendously in visualizing all of your major and minor chords if you are not feeling comfortable with them. And it's called the black key method, and it essentially categorizes all of your major and minor chords. There's 24 in total. It categorizes them into 5 main groups. We call them 0, 1, 2, 3, and odd, okay? And essentially what that means is you've just got 0 black keys, chords with 1 black key in the middle, chords with 2 black keys on the outside and 1 in the middle, chords with 3 black keys, and then chords that are a bit odd, and kind of like just the leftovers, which are these ones. Right? And that will cover all 24 of the chords. I really, really highly recommend that video. It will help you out tremendously. So some closing note. Up until this point, we've talked about what we call a triad, and I've actually showed you the way to think about it in what we call root position. What it essentially means is this is the fundamental way, or the fundamental kind of arrangement of these 3 notes in a triad. But as you get a bit more advanced in music, we do what's called inverting. This is not going to be a video going over inversions, but I just want to quickly explain how this ties into things like I was showing you before. If you've seen like how I'm playing these bigger chords, I'm still playing a major chord, but what's happening is I am inverting some of the notes and I'm doubling some of the notes. And when I say some of the notes, I'm referring to the root, third, and fifth. So for example, when we invert a chord, again, I'm not gonna go over all of this, but I'll do a little bit. We essentially take some of these notes and we just put it into a different arrangement, right? So sometimes in this example, I'll put it like this, where the root is on top. Sometimes I'll put in an example where the root is in the middle, and maybe you can notice that this was the third before, but now the third is on top, right? And I say a top, just the one to the right. And now the fifth's on the bottom, right? So it still has the same notes, but it's just in a different order, right? And so as you get a bit more advanced, you start to say, okay, well, maybe I'll double one of these notes. That's where we get the concept of 4-note chords, right? And you can already start to hear that it starts to becoming more full sounding. And now when you put that across 2 hands, I'm gonna double some notes. So for example, I'm just gonna invert my chord. Again, don't worry too much about what that means, but I'm just putting it into a different arrangement. And now I'm doubling the root note in here. And that creates this really, really full sound, right? It doesn't really matter. And if I invert the chord, I'm still playing C major, and I'm still playing C major. A lot of the times you're gonna hear many, many different voicings. That's the word we use to essentially say that we're rearranging this type of chord into ways that we find and enjoy. And a lot of voicings you will learn over your years, learning piano or music, and that will come from the styles of music that you like. If you like classical or jazz, R&B, pop, doesn't really matter the styles, they all have their type of voicings, regardless of whether they're playing chords like this all together or they're implying harmony by playing melodic lines like. They can still be major chords and minor chords. They're just doing it melodically, right? So hopefully that is a lot of information for you and you're primed for the next video in the black key method. I promise it will make a lot of this seem a lot more simple. And but I really do hope that this has been exhaustive and allows you to kind of move forward with an idea on what this stuff actually is, so that you just have a foundation to just take your playing to the next level. Thank you so much for watching this, and if you've gotten some value out of it, I really appreciate a like. And if you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing, because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on this type of topic and other things as well. See ya.